Now with breaking news. This is WAFB.
At the 6:30 half hour, what's on the radar? That is top of mind since the weather could be a big story again, particularly right now for that morning commute of yours. Diane Deaton is in the First Alert Weather Center.
But first, active hunt for killers underway in East Baton Rouge. The sheriff's office right now investigating a shooting. We've got multiple victims here. Let's get to Jaron Jordan live for an update on where that investigation is. Jaron?
Matt, Lauren, good morning to you. For the first time all morning, we actually have a clear scene at this 6:30 half hour. Sheriff's deputies leaving the scene and taking down all the caution tape here on Carriage Street just a few moments ago. But this morning, the investigation continues to find who is responsible in a quadruple shooting that left one person dead late last night. We know this morning that the search has widened outside of this immediate area this morning. We'll send it now into Diane Deaton for a look at our weather. Hey, Di.
Thank you very much, Jaron. A little earlier this morning, Jaron definitely had the umbrella, not so much now. And that really has been the story and the history that this morning some folks are waking up to some wet weather, some folks not so much, but we'll all probably have to deal with some wet streets over the course of the morning commute. Johnny, get out. Good morning to you.
Yeah, great. Mine's nowhere to be found right now. Thanks, Di. Good morning, everybody. All right, we're looking at I-10 traffic. This is I-10 traffic coming from the Highland, Segan, Bluebonnet area. Looks a little busier than it is because as you get closer to the camera, you can see the spacing is not bad. The lights are reflecting off of the wet, slick streets this morning. Lauren?
Thanks, Johnny. Scheduled to be in court later today, the man accused of the shooting death of former Saints star Will Smith. Cardell Hayes is facing second-degree murder charges. 8 members of New Orleans police and EMS are being asked to testify in this case. They were the first ones at the scene of the deadly shooting earlier this month. Prosecutors say they need enough evidence to support holding Hayes behind bars ahead of trial. And now there's a chance today's hearing could be scrapped. It all depends on if the grand jury decides on an indictment.
New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu is using that shooting, trying to drive home the point that this violence needs to stop.
In the heart of our city, Will Smith was shot and killed following what should have been a minor car accident. His death leaves a wife alone, 3 children without a father, his fellow teammates in shock, and a hole in the heart of a hurting city.
The mayor also talking about other shooting victims, the ones who don't make the headlines. Says the city is making dramatic changes right now to NOPD, focusing on a prison re-entry initiative as well, one that helps those getting out of jail find jobs, find housing. He and law enforcement officials also reaching out to gang members.
We tell them, look, you got 3 options. You can die on the street if you choose. You can spend the rest of your life in prison, or you can accept help.
The mayor is really also calling pretty much just on all residents for help here. He wants them to report any suspicious activity, report it to law enforcement, help maybe make some arrests on some of those unsolved cases as well.
Speaking of, a 15-year-old cold case reopened by the FBI. Now a community in East Feliciana Parish is hopeful to finally get some answers.
I'd like to find his daddy to get him, find out about him. It would be really, really great.
The FBI, along with local agencies, are ramping up efforts now to look into the disappearance of Wesley Dale Morgan. He was just 2 years old when he went missing from his Clinton home in 2001. Relatives who have had questions for more than a decade are hoping they'll finally find the truth.
I just hope and pray he hasn't been abused. You know, you just hope and pray for the best, that God will perform a miracle and let him, because you figure, you know, he's next March he'll be 18. He's almost a grown man.
And the agency has released progressed photos of Morgan which show what they believe he would look like today. Anyone with information is urged to call 225-291-1005.
A medical marijuana bill, one in particular, getting shelved at the Capitol before lawmakers get really a chance to vote on it. It's Baton Rouge Representative Ted James's bill. Lawmakers decided to table it. Wasn't a lot of support behind it. This measure would have expanded the number of diseases where marijuana can legally be used to treat something. Also would have provided legal protection for those growing or distributing the drug in the state, as well as physicians. A lot of emotional testimony coming yesterday. One man testifying that this bill could help his wife suffering from MS.
If you were in my situation, wouldn't you want all the options you could have? Would you not desperately search for anything that would bring normalcy and relief?
Still, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, as well as members of law enforcement, objected to this bill. They feared it could lead to illegal drug use and eventual decriminalization. James saying he will now back a medical marijuana bill that's already made its way through the Senate.
Showing your ID when asked for it in Louisiana, there could soon be an app for that. Lawmakers are looking into a bill that would allow Louisiana residents to download their license to their mobile devices through an application. If passed, nearly 3 million drivers would have the option to download the app, which is supposed to cost somewhere between $3 and $5. Louisiana would be the first state in the country to approve this type of legislation.
I tend to leave my wallet, so I always have my phone, because phones are, the technology now. Everybody has a cell phone, so most definitely I think it would be good.
Some opponents of the bill are worried about security concerns and say that makes it easier for someone to get your information.
Well, the NFL draft hitting the stage in Chicago later tonight. For Saints fans, the speculation about who the black and gold might be picking in the first round, it's ramped up a bit. They have the 12th overall pick right now, and prevailing thought's been defense, but the Saints have done a lot of homework on those guys right there, the quarterbacks, done so this offseason. So don't be surprised if they take one sooner rather than later. In fact, General Manager Mickey Loomis offering some insight when it comes to quarterbacks, especially with Drew Brees still with no extension.
I think we look into the quarterbacks every year. We have for the last few years. Just we've got to have an eye toward the future, and yet look, we're happy with our quarterback situation as well. So I think that's just part of the process.
Yeah, they look at that process every year. 50 million people expected to watch the first round of the draft tonight. Begins at 7 p.m. on ESPN and the NFL Network.
A running mate announced for one of the presidential candidates, shaking things up on the Republican side. More from Campaign 2016 next.
Live look for you here. This is Florida Boulevard traffic approaching the Oak Villa area. It's Cortana Mall. Westbound traffic coming from Denham. That's on the left. Lights coming toward the camera. Going to get you oriented. Johnny's going to give you a look. 640.